Well, hey everybody, this is Bryson Koehler here, CTO of Equifax, and really glad to be with you talking today. Obviously, I wish we were talking in person. I wish we were there together, but we've got a lot of great content going on. I hope everybody's going to enjoy their day in the conference and being able to collaborate even virtually as we go through all of this together. This is a really exciting time. And, there's so much great stuff happening around the world of Equifax, around the world of data. And, as you think about the world that we're in and as you think about all of the changes and challenges the world has been going through, there's a lot that speaks to why data is more important now than ever before. Whether that's, changes in employment and hiring, we've all seen that. We've seen record unemployment, but we've also seen record number of new hiring days from some companies as they're, ramping up and scaling out to meet the demands that this changing world has put on them. We've seen massive market volatility that has had huge up days and huge down days, creating a tremendous amount of data and the need for insights to be more real time, so people can make better decisions. If you think about credit and risk decisioning, making better decisions, making smarter decisions, if you think about the world that we are in today, if you were in the role of having to make a decision around lending someone money, whether that was an individual or a business, you can imagine that that is quite challenged. You can imagine that right now that's a really difficult decision, and that the data you have relied on for many years in the past is no longer the data you can rely on in the future. And that what you had kind of trained yourself, whether you trained it yourself or you had a model trained or you were using other types of AI or machine learning capabilities, that is radically changing. And then obviously the world around data and security. Data security, data governance, the ability for us to ensure that we have the right data sets in the hands of the right people working on the right workloads. This is all going on around us, and huge change occurring every moment of every day. And we have been really excited at Equifax because we just have seen ourselves as uniquely positioned to help. We're not the CDC, we're not the World Health Organization, and there's only so much that we can do, to help. We've done our social distancing. We're doing all of the work that we're supposed to do as good participants in humanity, just making sure that we are doing our part. But there's more we can do. And when you think about our mission of helping people live their financial best, right? I think that really resonates now more than ever. Helping people live their financial best is something that's more challenging now than it was, 3 months ago. There's so much uncertainty, and so we've been doing everything we can to help. Customer outreach, helping our customers with recession tools and webinars and videos and analytics. We've been delivering lots of information to various government agencies and helping them, make sure that, we help them make smarter decisions with data that's real time, really accurate, and, really confident. We've been building new solutions, leveraging, our differentiated data. We've launched a COVID credit finance resource center. We have, that has kind of been pulling all this information together to help consumers, that are being impacted by the pandemic understand how things could be impacting their finances, their credit, and making sure that those things are being, geared in a way that are easy for them to consume. And we've had, over 500,000 visitors come just in the last couple of months. We've been working hard to eliminate hard inquiry on phone and pay TV applications, and making sure that we're working with financial institutions around how they're handling forbearance. Making sure that we support our small businesses, and whether that's through a free weekly credit trends report, or through other webinars or other solutions. You can see that we take this very seriously. We take our role very seriously, and we are engaged every day to use the data that we have to help make better decisions and really help people live their financial best. Now, we've done all of this through our technology capabilities. We've been on a journey here at Equifax for the last couple of years, really going through a massive technology transformation, a transformation built on cloud-native principles, and a transformation built around having the world's best data security, data capabilities, product innovation capabilities, always-on uptime, improved latency, and we're really pleased with where we've come and where we're headed. And you can see just a kind of snapshot of how we think about our world in terms of how the data that we bring into our data fabric, how we ingest that, connect that, enrich that, and curate that, how we use various forms of artificial intelligence to build our models, to analyze, train, and then run those, so that our platform capabilities can bring those to life against a rich suite of products, against a variety of delivery channels. And we do that in 25 countries around the world, and we help hundreds of millions of people every day ensure that they're using all of the tools, all of the data, and all of the capabilities to help run a better business or help live their financial best. And so this transformation for us has been around getting to consistency, rationalizing our portfolio, and thinking very differently about data. So data was really at the heart of this transformation. When we began this transformation, we had 57 data centers around the world, and over 5,500 databases. And we don't actually have time in the talk today to actually list out all the different types and flavors of databases that we had. But rest assured, if it was built, we were running it, and we even took time to build a few databases of our own, because clearly what was out in the marketplace wasn't enough. And so, yeah, I said that a little tongue-in-cheek because hopefully we all can have a little humor as we go through this, because I'm sure many of you have seen those movies before. And then when you look at that from an ongoing technology operations perspective, you go, wait a minute, why are we here? What are we doing? Well, for us, data needed to become a solved problem. Data didn't need to be, this piece of work that just constantly needed more investment. We needed data to become a solved problem. We've solved so many problems in technology, and the cloud certainly has helped that. Compute, to a large degree networking, the way we think about storage, those have become solved problems. We don't think about them anymore. They're simple API calls, they're simple web-based configurations, and poof, you have whatever you need. And we're really pleased to be partnering with Google Cloud on our data capabilities of our journey, because we believe that Google's got some differentiated ways of thinking about data and thinking about solving that data, and bringing together different data technologies, different ways of thinking about data philosophically, and that really resonated really well with us. Now, for us, making sure that we help the data scientists that were out there really get back to being data scientists was at the underlying kind of mission of this data team. Making data a solved problem is around making data hygiene easier. I remember the story of NASA when JFK was touring, and right before we had launched the Apollo missions, and asked the janitor, what is it you do here? And the janitor replied, Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon. And so we believe that the data janitors that are out there are a key part to helping put a man on the moon when you think about your own data journey, right? So launching a man to the moon is quite difficult. Janitorial work in and around data takes up a lot of time. It's very time consuming. And I bet that most data scientists actually many days are more like data janitors than they are data scientists. And that work is not necessarily productive. It's important. You have to do it. You can't do much else until you have good data hygiene in place. But it's also not really the reason why you're doing it. You're not building out great data environments. You're not leveraging AI just to do data hygiene. You're doing data hygiene so you can do those things. And so we've spent a lot of time making sure that when we think about our data fabric and the services that we have built and the capabilities that we have pulled together, we wanted to make sure that we really kept that in mind. And so when we think about the lifeline of data and the pipeline of capabilities that exist that come together to make the data usable, make the data differentiated, make the data well governed, make the data safe to use, and highly protected, there's a lot that has to come together. And again, kind of with our fundamental premise that we wanted to make data a solved problem. So, from ingestion, making sure that, there was this concept of a data factory and that we really had the ability to scale the configuration of ingestion out across the business so that any team that needed to bring in new data could simply write their own configuration cartridge and use that, in our data fabric. Our entity resolution, making sure that we really could, bring together and match together and list and catalog and make sure that all of our data was tagged and that we really were using metadata appropriately so that we knew what was going on, what our data was, where it came from, its lineage, what we could do with it, where it could live, where it couldn't live. The regulatory side of data is a growing challenge for our data scientists, increasingly for the data janitorial side of their work. And then making sure that we separated out the purposing from ingestion. And a lot of times data has been treated as a fixed entity, something that wasn't going to change over time, something that was a fixed desire. And so we would create the ingestion and create our data models and create the way we thought about data and all of the cleansing and ETL work that we would do too early in the process. And we would drop data on the floor. We would not store the data that we needed. And then when the desire to change the way it was being purposed came about, everybody would say, oh, well, that system doesn't do that. We need a new system. Or, yeah, we can't go back and we don't have the history on that and that wasn't journaled. There was no time series. We can't do what you asked for. Oh, we can, start doing it going forward. We wanted to make sure that became a solved problem. We wanted to make sure that we always captured everything, tagged it appropriately so that we could use it appropriately, but also then make sure that we were doing that upon purposing, not something earlier in the pipeline. And that was a really important change for us. And it certainly changes the way that our data scientists engage and interact with our system. From an analytics perspective, analytics is something that doesn't need a separate environment. We don't need to be in a world of continuously, replicating data all over the place. Replicating data all over the place is expensive. It raises your risk profile. There's nothing good about that. And, we've all had to do that in the past for performance considerations. But one of the great things about the cloud is that analytics now can run, in line with your operational, needs on your data systems. And so we're really thrilled with how our analytics environment is now being infused and built directly into our data fabric. And then from a fulfillment perspective, making sure that we didn't build separate systems for data that would handle, our online work versus our batch work versus how we would run decisioning models. And so we've done a ton of work to make sure that, the fulfillment and the purposing and the use of our data is done in a highly governed, highly sophisticated, highly secure way, but also one that's very flexible. One that, as batch workloads change, batch doesn't actually need to be queued up anymore. Batch doesn't need to be created because of system limitations to kind of run during certain hours. Batch may just now be an online feed that is simply compiled together and shipped as an asset or used together as a data entity. So even the ideas that we've had in the past that were really built around system limitations that existed, that's really all changed. And as you go into the cloud native, concepts, and you find that infinitely horizontally scalable infrastructure really breaks down the paradigms, really breaks down, what created some of these concepts. We have to make sure we still support those concepts because many of our customers expect them, but we don't want to replicate the way that the technology was built to create them. So we've done a lot of work in the fulfillment space to make sure we do that. The data catalog, as I talked about earlier, as we bring our data in, making sure that the metadata that is associated with every element of data is rich, it's robust, and it follows the lineage of that data throughout. Those are really just tags that help us constantly understand how data can be used, how it can't be used, the regulatory constraints that data is under. That could be geographic restrictions or usage restrictions. So the cataloging services, when you're really trying to focus on that data janitorial work, for us, were some of the most important. Getting that right, getting that scalable, and making sure it was flexible, and making sure it was immutable was so important to us. And so we've spent a lot of time really grinding on making sure that we get that right, and that we can handle raw data, curated data, and that we really pulled our keying and linking capabilities into how our entity resolution and how our catalog services work, because making sure we understand what element of data attaches to what element of data. Who is Bryson? What do we know about Bryson? Bryson's now not just a set of rows in databases from different vintages. Bryson is now just an entity with a lot of attributes attached to him. And so it really changed the way we thought about our data models. It really changes the way we think about how we key and link data. And our keying and linking solution is really, to us, one of the most important assets in our intellectual property toolkit that makes Equifax great. Our ability to understand what data gets associated with what entity, whether that entity is a person, a place, or a thing, is really important. And we want to continue to raise the accuracy of that. We want to continue to leverage more automated machine learning capabilities to refine that accuracy. And we're really pleased with the work we've done to bring our various keying and linking solutions together under one service now, and be able to run that at high volumes, high speeds, and improved levels of accuracy. And so we've built that on top of a lot of our core product and platform services. As I mentioned, we leverage a lot of capabilities from Google. We've stitched those together with much of our own, especially in and around how we think about data protection, data encryption, key management, really important. And so we've built a lot of capabilities that enhance what Google provides. We use Ignite, which is our analytics solution, and it leverages natively the Data Fabric repository, and Ignite being really, at the end of the day, the sandbox, the toolkit for data scientists, is an important part of our journey. And we continue to increase the ways that we use AI. Explainable AI is an important piece. We've built our own NDT, neuro decisioning technology, which is our implementation of explainable AI to help us We're quite proud of that. And, where we have regulated workloads that require explainability, we believe that we're well positioned now. And as we all know, the right use of machine learning, the right use of AI, really at the end of the day is improved dramatically by having good data and good data hygiene. Having, a data mess is not a great place to start if you want the machines to help you analyze and find insight. Having your data well cleaned, well curated, and well cataloged is a great way to improve the effectiveness of whatever your AI strategies are. So Data Fabric for us is really at the heart of our overall transformation as a company. It is at the heart of how we have been thinking about improving the lives of data scientists and helping them spend less time being data janitors. And so, this journey for us around removing duplicative data, removing unnecessary data infrastructure, solves many problems. It certainly solves the ones we've talked about. It certainly improves our security posture by removing duplicative data. We've removed well north of 1 trillion data records over the last couple of years as we've been going through our process of re-ingesting, re-looking at the data, getting rid of that duplicative data, and increasing our security posture around the data that we're keeping. So we're really pleased with that progress. So a quick video that we'll play now that we kind of have put together, because not all of our users come to database conferences. Not all of them are highly technical. So sometimes we have to be able to explain this in a more layman's way. So I thought I'd share this because it might resonate. So here we go.
Data quality and standardization is foundational to delivering optimal business decisions. Integrated data that is uniformly keyed and linked is critical to producing the highest quality outcomes. At Equifax, we're weaving our assets into a single connected environment called Data Fabric. Streamlining data from analytics through production positions your business for growth. Whether it's enhanced identity assessments and fraud prevention, more reliable and precise credit decisioning, or even predictive analytics and marketing insights, connected data is the heart of our cloud transformation. It's not just lifting and shifting existing systems, and we are no longer constrained by legacy data centers. We're transforming our data infrastructure to help you gain competitive advantages through speed and flexibility, collaborating together for advanced data solutions. As our engineers have designed and are now evolving the data fabric, we create differentiated and unique exchange databases and purpose them for the unique needs of your industry. We calculate and certify attributes and scores. And finally, launch new and innovative products designed for you. All while tapping the unique potential of the cloud to exponentially improve scalability and security, delivering the highest quality data for consistent outcomes. This is proof that we're putting the cloud to work for you.
So hopefully that kind of gives you a bit of color around how we think about it. And one of the things that is important when you look at that is the way we bring different data environments together in that fabric. And I didn't really talk about it much on the previous slide, but there are different databases that create expertise and value for different data workloads. And so that's where you see us weaving in our use of databases like Postgres. It is a part of the storage environment of our data fabric. So the services, if we look at the ingestion services and we think about how data fabric brings those together, those services are common. And whether the underlying storage mechanism is Big Table or that underlying storage mechanism is Postgres or another database solution, we have the ability to provide now a common, consistent way of managing all of that and letting our storage services, handle the actual, underlying management. So, we didn't, not spending a lot of time on it, but I think Postgres for us was a great choice and a great decision around how we thought about one of our database options, because we don't need 15 options. And so we were very thoughtful in what we bring in and what we allow and what we use. And Postgres is one of the key, solutions that we enable through our data fabric capabilities. Now doing this, was, critical to deliver on our mission as a company. It's the largest investment in Equifax's history. I mean, we're investing over $1.25 billion incrementally in technology as we go through this transformation. And to pull this off, it really, has required a philosophical change, a cultural change that has enabled the technological change. And, I think from a philosophical change, we had to agree and align, around, who our competition was, where we were trying to go, and how we would get there. We also had to kind of culturally change the way we think and act and interact, meaning, we are going to align around a more common set of decisions, right? Data fabric is a common way that we're going to manage data. We will continue to evolve and iterate, but we're not going to go and build a different way to do ingestion just because somebody wants to go do it. So I think philosophically we are aligned around things like cloud native. Culturally, we began to not have tolerance for people that didn't believe in our philosophy. When you think about technology, it is highly religious, right? We all have our databases of choice, right? We chose Postgres over others because we went through and methodically reviewed it. But we then have to culturally reject people that want to continue to just debate other options. Doesn't mean we would be blind or close our eyes to innovations that happen over time, but we certainly can't just constantly retrade decisions. We have to kind of, lock arms, and that's part of that cultural change. And without that philosophical set, without the cultural change where we all recognized why we were doing this, why we needed to have better consistency, then we wouldn't really have the technological, outcomes that we're currently achieving. And that really kind of has helped us define, what does it mean to be an Equifax engineer? And what does that stand for? And importantly, what does it not stand for? And that's not for everybody. We're okay with that because we believe that the way we've written our engineering handbook, the way we've put together our architecture, the way we've organized the teams, the types of skill sets that we attract, means the right thing for us. And as we continue on this largest investment in our history, we want to continue to be focused on helping people live their financial best. And I think when we think about, the organization, that really is what brings this to life. To me, my favorite aircraft is the SR-71. And, the SR-71 is an amazing vehicle, and we could do a whole hour-long conversation on why it's such an amazing piece of machinery. But one of the best stories about the SR-71, as you can see in the video, is it leaks fuel sitting on the tarmac. And, I think that, the fact that the team came together, some of the best engineers of their time, and designed, still to this day, the fastest jet-powered aircraft. And it leaked fuel on the runway before it took off, and it did that because it hadn't sealed yet, and the plane was built to expand in length and seal those tanks at speed when it heated up. That is, to me, the brilliance of the right organizational characteristics. A team that really came together, stayed focused on what that end goal was, and really, recognized that failure was okay. We're not certainly seeking failure, but failure was better than incompetence. And, that outcomes were more important than effort, and that, simple was more important than complex. And that, it was more important to invent, and they invented titanium to make this plane. That was a lot better than just taking existing things off the shelf and trying to reorganize them. And that their strategy to achieve what they achieved has lasted now for decades. And, if you think about simple versus complex, I'm sure that with more time and more money and more complexity, they could have engineered a way to not have the fuel leak. But was it necessary? Did it matter? Was that important to them? No, it wasn't, because at the end of the day, that was a risk. They managed that risk. They decided as a team how to work through that risk, and they delivered an aircraft in record time. They delivered an aircraft that still holds many land and airspeed records today. And, they have done that because they had the right organization, the right leadership, the right philosophy, the right culture. And, it has to be adaptive, because you don't know what you're going to face. And data is a great example of that, because data is ever changing. Data is constantly coming into our environments. It's being manipulated in our environments. It's leaving our environments. And obviously our job is to make sure we pick the right technologies that help us, to embrace the adaptiveness that our businesses require. But as we pick those technologies, we need to make sure that we also adapt our organization to work with those technologies. And so we've had to really rethink how we work as a company with Data Fabric, right? And do we still need areas of expertise? Absolutely. Do we still need people who understand how to leverage the best out of data infrastructure, databases like Postgres? Yes, we do. We need to tune those and optimize those and work with those. But we can continue to abstract away some of the other complexities, like we talked about with our pipeline, that then enable us to democratize the access to these great capabilities and democratize, the amazing activities that are occurring. So as we think about where we are and where we're headed, it is important for us as a company to stay focused on our outcomes, to stay focused on where we're trying to go. And, we have a, rallying cry around our shop that basically is, be a Viking, don't be a victim. Don't hide behind a process as to a reason why something couldn't get done. Be a master of your craft. Don't be a copy editor. Really be a master. Help out and step in. Just because somebody lives in a different org than you doesn't mean that you don't work for the same company. So there aren't boundaries around that. We're all after the same thing. We want Equifax to really be able to help people live their financial best, to help our customers really thrive in this time of uncertainty and leverage data in new ways to help them solve problems that they didn't think they could solve before. And we focus heavily on our run rates and velocity, making sure that we are grinding out unit efficiencies and making sure that we can then reinvest those efficiencies in the next great thing. So data at Equifax is everything. Who we are as a company, the problems we're trying to solve, how we work with our customers, this is all critical for us. And we are thrilled that we have made so much progress on our data fabric. We are excited about our opportunities to continue to now plug in great database capabilities like Postgres. And that really opens up a great ecosystem. The Postgres environment has got a great ecosystem wrapped around it. There are so many great companies and technologies that attach in and around the Postgres environment. And I encourage all of you to continue to explore that. I encourage all of you to continue to pressurize yourself in the way you think about your own philosophies, your culture that you're building within your companies, and the technology that will enable. And at the end of the day, be a Viking. Don't be a victim. Enjoy the conference, everybody.
Okay, time to take a few questions. It looks like we have a few that came in. I'm going to ask the first question, which is for Bryson. Where is Equifax using Postgres in their infrastructure?
So we use Postgres throughout our infrastructure. We use it on our consumer side of our business. We use it within our workforce solutions environment, and we use it in our USIS environment. We actually use it around the world as well. We use it in the United Kingdom, in Canada. It's in use in Australia. So it's got a very wide deployment and a wide variety of use cases. Some just in our data stores related to some of our commercial exchanges, but also within some of our consumer properties where we've got customer-facing apps that are engaging with consumers and individuals around the world.
Great. Last question, it asks about your data fabric and how it's bundled and packaged with Postgres.
Say that again. I just want to make sure I heard it fully.
Oh, that's fine. It says data fabric. The question is, data fabric is proprietary to Equifax. Is it bundled with Postgres, and how does licensing work in that case?
So Data Fabric is a service that we use, and so it is bundled as a part of the overall products that our customers receive from us. So we don't get into the actual exposure of that level of granularity in the components that make up the end products. But we look at a unit cost of delivery for the capabilities that we're providing, and those get layered into the overall cost of the product that our customers receive from us. But we do not license it or look at it like that. We're not a software vendor. And so
Great. Well, thank you, Bryson. I think that's it for questions at the moment. Bryson, thank you for joining us today. And just as a reminder to everyone out there, not in 8 minutes, Ed Boyajian will be starting his second keynote, the second keynote of the day, which is Power to Postgres. Please stick around here in the theater for Ed Boyajian's keynote.